What stylists never told us about bobs after 60 until now. You've probably heard it too. A bob gives lift, they said. It frames the face, makes you look fresh. And for years, we nodded, smiled, and trusted the snip. But here's the thing. After 60, our hair starts playing by a whole new set of rules. Instead of bounce, we get bulk. Instead of movement, there's puff where we didn't ask for it, and flatness where we did. Turns out, the classic bob isn't wrong, but the way it's styled, shaped, and sold to us, that's where things quietly fall apart. In this video, we're digging into 5 common beliefs that secretly sabotage a bob after 60, and the tiny shifts that actually work. Ever been told it was the best cut for fine hair? You're not alone. Middle part 1, familiar mistake with light bulb flip. We've all heard it. The short bob gives lift. That's the line. It's printed in every women's magazine, whispered over salon chairs, repeated like gospel. And for a while, maybe it did. Back when the hair had more density, more spring, and gravity wasn't quite so bold. But past 60, the same cut starts to behave differently. Here's the catch. What stylists call lift is often just shortness at the crown. Maybe a bit of stacking in the back. But if your hair is fine or thinning, that stack doesn't rise, it compresses. And instead of volume, you get shape collapse, especially when the back is cut too sharp or the sides are blunt. Suddenly, the head starts to look squared off. The lift isn't lifting, it's pushing outward, right at ear level. I didn't notice it until I saw a picture of myself from behind. The top looked flat, the sides were heavy. The whole thing added width, but none of it where I wanted it. One client said it best, "I feel like I got a cut designed to fall flat." And that's exactly it. On mature hair, lift isn't about the cut being short. It's about the shape being light enough to move and the weight being removed from the wrong places. So here's a shift that made all the difference. Ask for softness at the nape, not sharpness. Skip the aggressive stack. Keep the layers light and just long enough to bend. You don't want height in theory. You want buoyancy that lasts past noon. Try this for your next trim. A bob that leans diagonal, not horizontal. One that follows your bone structure, not just your jawline. You'll feel the difference the minute you run your fingers through the back. But the next mistake, it's even trickier because it's hiding in a rule we all trusted for years. Middle part 2, surprising logic shift with technical insight. We were told over and over that a clean, even perimeter makes a bob look polished, that the secret to elegance is a strong line, uninterrupted. And for years, that advice worked. It gave structure, weight, and just enough swing. But somewhere along the line, usually around the time our hair stopped cooperating, that trusted rule stopped giving back. Because here's the twist. That even line, it anchors the hair. And when the hair is fine or thinning or just a little more porous than it used to be, that anchor turns into a weight. It holds everything down. Not sleek, flat, not defined, heavy, especially around the chin and jawline. That strong horizontal line we were taught to ask for, it creates a shelf. And instead of lifting the face, it sharpens it, pulls the eye sideways, adds drag. I had one woman tell me, "My cut looks precise, but I look tired." And she was right. Everything about her cut was technically perfect. But it wasn't moving. It wasn't working with her hair. It was controlling it. So if you've been sticking to that hard perimeter because it feels safer, you're not wrong to want structure. But after 60, structure needs softness. It needs release. Try breaking the rule with a little interior layering. Not those stacked blocks from the early 2000s. I mean feather lightweight removal inside the shape. Enough to let air through. Enough to bend. Even a few millimeters of movement can change everything. Suddenly, the line disappears into softness. The weight lifts just enough to let the crown breathe. It doesn't have to look layered. It just has to feel lighter. Give your bob permission to loosen. You'll be surprised how modern it suddenly looks. And the next mistake, it's the one that hides inside our good intentions, especially when we think we're helping fine hair by cutting more of it off. Middle part 3, counterintuitive deepening. We all do it, especially when our hair starts thinning. The shorter it gets, the lighter it'll feel, right? Less hair means more volume, or at least that's what we've been told. So we go shorter, just a little at first, then maybe a bit more. Take the back up a little higher, clean up the sides, until one day we glance in the mirror and something's off. Here's the subtle issue. The shorter your bob gets, especially on fine hair, the more your scalp starts to call the shots. It seems harmless, but when your hair is short and the density's low, the roots don't lift, they separate. The crown doesn't hold, it collapses. You lose the weight needed to keep the shape, and end up with puff where you don't want it, and sag where you used to have bend. Even worse, the proportions start to work against you. Short hair exposes the scalp faster. It sharpens the jawline, makes the cheeks look flatter. Suddenly, the whole face looks harsher, like the cut took over the face instead of supporting it. One woman told me, "I thought I was going bold, but now I just look severe." And she was right. The cut was bold, but the shape had nowhere to go, no room to curve, soften, or breathe. What helped her, and me, was stepping back from the urge to crop. Instead, we added a bit of length, just to the sides, just enough to let the front swing slightly forward. Not to cover anything, but to shift the visual weight. Pull the eye upward. Let the shape lean toward the cheekbones instead of falling below them. If your hair is fine and your instinct says, go shorter for volume, pause. Consider going longer for balance. Even half an inch can change how your whole face reads. And the next mistake? It's not in the cut itself, but what we do after the cut. A single step that undoes all the good shape we just paid for. Middle part 4, smart habit that backfires. You know the move, the post-blow-dry polish. Maybe it's a quick pass with the round brush. Maybe a little serum smoothed through the ends. A cool blast to set the shape. It feels like the pro thing to do. Like the final touch that says, yes, I still know how to style my hair. But here's what happens. Especially with finer or aging hair, that one final step flattens everything we just worked for. It sounds helpful, it feels productive, but in reality, it presses out the lift we built during styling. It weighs down the crown. It seals in the wrong shape, the freshly pressed look, instead of the soft bend we actually wanted, especially if you use a serum, cream, or even just a brush too soon. What looked airy and lifted in the mirror becomes slick at the root and puffy at the sides, that dreaded triangle effect. The kind that makes your face look wider and your crown look tired. I used to blame the cut. I'd leave the salon thrilled, only to check my reflection in the car window and think, where did it go? One client even told me, it looks amazing at home, until I do the final step. Then it all falls. So here's the adjustment. Don't touch it yet. Let your hair cool fully before doing anything. Volume sets as it cools, not while it's still warm. And skip the heavy finishers. If you want polish, try a whisper of flexible spray near the root zone, or better yet, just your hands. A light tousle. A bit of lift at the base with your fingers. You're not trying to freeze it. You're letting it land. Try this next time. Style as usual, then step away. Let the shape breathe. You'll notice the difference, not in how it looks right away, but in how it lasts. And the next mistake? It's the sneakiest of all, because it doesn't happen in the salon. It happens in your mirror, when you think you're fixing your style, but you're actually undoing the whole thing. Middle part 5, high impact habit with mirror effect. There's one move I used to make without thinking. Right after styling, right before heading out. A quick brush at the crown, a little smoothing at the sides, maybe even a tuck behind the ear for clean lines. It felt harmless, like the grown-up version of tidying up. But then I'd see myself in photos and wonder why I looked flat, dragged down, almost like the shape was sagging. Turns out, I wasn't just adjusting my hair. I was dismantling the structure I just spent 20 minutes building. That last brush, it deflated the crown. That tuck, it shifted all the weight backward. And the worst part, it made the cut look off balance, even when the cut was solid. I didn't even realize how much I was sabotaging the shape until one day, after doing nothing post-styling, I caught a glimpse of my profile and thought, oh, that's what it was supposed to look like. Even a good cut can't hold if our habits keep undoing it, especially with a bob where every bend and break matters. One wrong move and the volume folds, the sides widen, the crown slips. So what finally worked? I stopped brushing after styling completely. I switched to using just my fingers. A little shake at the crown, a soft lift near the roots, and instead of tucking, I started using a gentle bend just at the temple to guide the hair back without flattening it. It's not dramatic, but the difference shows up in how the hair lands. Softer lift, better shape, and most of all, it stays that way through the day. If you've ever caught your reflection and thought, why does my hair behave until I fix it? This might be the one. Try it. No brush, no tug, just hands. You'll feel the bounce stay where it belongs. Because sometimes it's not the cut, it's the habit after the cut that decides whether the look lasts. Most of us didn't end up with the wrong bob on purpose. We were following what worked in our 40s, or what a stylist promised would give lift. We weren't making mistakes. We were trusting the rules we've been handed. But hair changes, texture shifts, and the styles that used to flatter, they start to push in all the wrong places. The good news? You're not stuck. You're just a few small shifts away from a shape that actually listens to your hair, not fights it. If even one of these felt familiar, don't worry. You're not behind. You're just ready to cut smarter, not shorter. Which one hit home for you? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear what finally made the mirror make sense. And if you're wondering why some bobs look effortlessly modern while others scream dated, that one's coming next.